Hello, ladies and gentlemen, they say wisdom comes with age, but peace, privacy, and well-being, those must be protected, especially after 70. You've earned your serenity, so why give it away by oversharing what should be sacred? Today, I want to challenge you to guard what matters and let go of the pressure to explain, defend, or justify your choices. Your life is yours to live, not theirs to inspect. Guarding your personal life preserves mental peace and prevents emotional exploitation. After 70, your inner world becomes more precious than ever. You've walked through decades of life, its storms and sunshine, its loss and love. By now you know that not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. When you freely open the doors to your most personal matters, you give people the power to question, influence, and even drain your energy. This doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means choosing your boundaries with intention. There's a quiet strength in keeping certain things to yourself. Peace doesn't come from being understood by everyone. It comes from understanding yourself and protecting that space. People are naturally curious, sometimes well-meaning, sometimes not. When you share sensitive parts of your life freely, you expose yourself to opinions that can shake your confidence or challenge your sense of security. Mental peace is fragile in a world full of noise. Every time you open up about something deeply personal, ask yourself, is this person capable of holding this information with care and respect? If the answer is no, or even uncertain, then silence becomes an act of self-respect. As we age, we develop a deeper appreciation for calm. You start to crave stillness, not approval. You begin to see that not every battle is worth fighting, not every question deserves an answer, and not every opinion needs a response. By guarding your personal life, you protect yourself from unnecessary stress. When you maintain privacy, you get to choose your emotional landscape. You decide who enters and how deeply they're allowed in. It's not about being secretive, it's about being selective. You have every right to withhold personal information from those who haven't earned your trust. This doesn't make you cold or distant. It makes you wise. You've lived long enough to know the cost of misplaced trust. At this stage of life, your peace isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Sharing less gives you more control over your emotional well-being, your decisions, and your future. You become the curator of your life story, deciding what parts to display and what parts to keep sacred. Financial and health matters should remain private to avoid unnecessary stress or manipulation. These two areas, money and health, are often the most sensitive and the most vulnerable. When you speak openly about your finances, even with those you think you can trust, you risk inviting not just advice, but sometimes judgment, envy, or even exploitation. After 70, your financial situation is something you've worked for all your life. It's your foundation for freedom, comfort, and independence. You don't need unsolicited opinions about how you should spend it, save it, or give it away. People often have strong reactions to money. Some see opportunity, others see weakness. When your financial details become public knowledge, people may start treating you differently. Their intentions might shift. They may feel entitled to a portion of what you've earned. Suddenly, you're not just a parent, grandparent, or friend. You're a potential source of support or inheritance. That pressure can be subtle or direct, but it's pressure all the same. And it chips away at your peace. Your health is equally sensitive. Sharing every diagnosis, symptom, or doctor visit may seem harmless, but it can change how people perceive and interact with you. It can lead to unnecessary worry, pity, or even uninvited medical advice. It's okay to say, "I'm managing it," and leave it there. You are not your condition. You are not a case study. You are a whole person with wisdom, history, and dignity. When you hold these personal details close, you preserve your autonomy. You give yourself the right to navigate your health and finances with clarity and confidence, free from outside influence. Being selective with this information gives you power, the power to protect your independence, to stay grounded in your truth, and to live the rest of your life on your own terms. Sharing is not always caring. Sometimes not sharing is the most caring thing you can do for yourself. Not all opinions are worth hearing, especially when it comes to your life choices and legacy. After 70, you begin to understand the true value of self-direction. You've built a life through decades of decisions, both good and bad, and every one of them contributed to the person you are today. When people offer opinions, they are often filtered through their own fears, biases, and limited understanding of your journey. That's why it's crucial to filter those opinions before letting them settle into your mind. People will always have something to say. They'll have suggestions for how you should spend your time, what you should do with your money, how you should manage your health, or how your family relationships should be handled. Sometimes it's cloaked in concern, other times in judgment. But you are under no obligation to absorb or respond to every piece of feedback. Listening without accepting is a skill, and it becomes more essential with age. You've earned the right to live your life without defending it to others. You must understand that your legacy is your story to write, not theirs to edit. Your values, your decisions, and your priorities belong to you alone. When you constantly open your life up for public opinion, you risk letting outside voices drown out your inner wisdom. It's okay to be misunderstood. It's okay if others wouldn't have done things the way you did. Their approval is not a requirement for your peace. Choosing whose voice you allow into your mental space is a form of emotional self-care. Just because someone is close to you doesn't mean their opinion is always useful or valid. Sometimes the people closest to you can unintentionally become the loudest critics. They may project their own fears, their own regrets, and their own limitations onto your life. That's why it's important to trust yourself, honor your own choices, and protect the vision you have for your later years. You're not here to meet expectations. You're here to enjoy fulfillment. By being intentional about which opinions you take seriously, you take back control of your emotional well-being. You learn to walk in confidence, trusting that your life, as you've lived it, has value and meaning without constant commentary or correction. Peace thrives in privacy. Oversharing invites noise. There is a quiet freedom in keeping certain parts of your life sacred. In a world that pushes constant connection and exposure, choosing to stay private becomes an act of strength. After 70, you understand that not everything needs to be shared, broadcast, or explained. The more you share, the more you invite the world into spaces that should remain yours alone. Peace is not about the absence of noise in the world. It's about keeping that noise from entering your inner world. When you share too much with too many, you open the door for misunderstandings, unsolicited advice, and even gossip. What begins as an innocent conversation can become a chain of assumptions, and before you know it, your story is no longer your own. It has been twisted, debated, and interpreted by people who were never meant to carry it in the first place. Oversharing can make your private battles public property. It can rob you of the dignity and calm that come with personal boundaries. There's also a deep emotional cost. When you make everything in your life visible, you also make yourself vulnerable to scrutiny. Not everyone deserves that level of access. When you learn to embrace privacy, you protect your joy, your healing, and your strength from being diluted or dismissed by others. Privacy allows you to process in peace, grow in silence, and live in alignment with your own values rather than external pressures. Your life is not a performance. It's not a public service announcement. You don't owe the world an update. Choosing privacy doesn't mean you're hiding something. It means you've reached a level of wisdom where you no longer need validation to feel worthy. In that silence, in that sacred space, your peace becomes unshakable. You learn to thrive in stillness, to cherish the parts of your life that belong only to you, and to find comfort in the quiet power of knowing that not everything needs to be spoken to be meaningful. Past regrets do not define your worth. There's strength in healing silently. By the time you reach 70, you've lived through choices that shaped you, some that made you proud and others you may wish had gone differently. Regret is a natural part of being human, but it is not a requirement to carry it forever. What often happens is that people begin to speak more openly about their regrets as they age, thinking that reliving the past will somehow bring relief or closure. In reality, constantly revisiting old wounds can reopen them. It can prevent you from fully embracing the life you still have ahead of you. There's a time for reflection, but there's also a time for release. Healing doesn't always need an audience. Sometimes the most powerful recovery happens in silence, in solitude, in those quiet moments when you forgive yourself without needing someone else to validate that forgiveness. Regrets are like shadows. They follow you, but they don't have to control you. You are more than the things you wish you had done differently. You are the wisdom, the resilience, and the lessons those experiences gave you. When you repeatedly share your regrets with others, especially those who don't truly understand your journey, you run the risk of reinforcing shame. You invite commentary, comparison, and sometimes judgment from people who haven't walked in your shoes. That doesn't mean you shouldn't ever talk about your past. It means you should choose those conversations with care. Not everyone has the capacity to hold your truth with grace, and not every moment from your past deserves to be replayed under someone else's spotlight. Your story is still unfolding, even after 70. There are still memories to make, still love to give, still dreams to hold. Carrying the weight of regrets dims that light. It drains your energy and clouds your joy. You have permission to move forward without carrying guilt like a backpack. You've earned the right to walk freely. Silent healing is not weakness. It's a form of power. It means you have decided to stop bleeding in public and start living in peace. Joy is yours to own. You don't need external approval to live it freely. As you age, you realize that happiness does not need to be explained or justified. The older you get, the more sacred your joy becomes. It might come from simple things: a morning walk, a good book, time with your grandchildren, a quiet cup of tea. To some, these things may seem ordinary or even unimportant, but to you they are everything. The world often teaches us that joy must be loud, big, or shared widely to be real, but that is a lie. Real joy is deeply personal. It doesn't need applause, it just needs to be felt. When you start seeking permission to feel happy, you hand your power over to others. You wait for their nod before you laugh freely, rest deeply, or celebrate small wins. That's a form of emotional dependence, and it chips away at your sense of self. After 70, joy must become something you protect. Not everyone will understand what brings you happiness, and that's okay. It's not their path, it's not their heart, it's yours. You don't have to explain why something brings you peace. You don't need to justify why you chose solitude over social events, or why you've stopped chasing the things you once thought were important. You don't need validation for choosing rest over hustle or laughter over worry. You have spent a lifetime earning the right to feel joy on your terms, in your time, in your way. Protecting your joy means not letting others drain it with their doubts, their opinions, or their disapproval. It means letting yourself be happy without turning it into a performance. You can feel fulfilled in silence. You can smile to yourself knowing that your life, imperfect and beautiful, is still filled with reasons to be thankful. That joy, that quiet contentment is not small. It's not insignificant. It's your reward for surviving, growing, and continuing to live with intention. You don't need anyone's permission to enjoy the life you've built. You just need the courage to claim it after 70. Your soul deserves peace like never before. Remember, silence isn't secrecy, it's strength. You don't owe the world your story, you owe yourself your serenity. Share what uplifts, protect what matters, and always walk in dignity, not disclosure. You've lived long enough to know not everything sacred should be spoken.